folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got another great show for you. As my dog is in the background, it's funny as heck.
My dog.
Where's Duggar? Where's Duggar Holland?
my dog is not hollering, so I had to do it for him.
Yeah.
So greetings and blessings, everybody. We greet you as always with the love and honor of the infinite Creator, and I always pray that each and every day that you will be able to learn and accept how to accept the blessings and all of the things from the universe. So I cut you off, Robert.
Oh, that's all right. Tonight we got a great show, and it's all going to be about stories of the Pacific Northwest. Now, we've heard plenty of stories. I think we did several books, didn't we, on and we went through them about the Eastern stories, tales and things like that on the East Coast, those tribes.
Yes.
Do you remember some of those books that we went through? And I can't remember. It starts with an S. And Seneca. Wasn't it the Seneca?
Yeah, that was one of them.
Yeah. So we did a lot of their stories for weeks and weeks and months and months. And then we kind of moved a little bit around. And now we did Glooskap and his stories. I think he might be Eastern Coast or Central or something like that. And then we're moving over to the West Coast. As you know, we followed the Oregon Trail, went through the plains, talked about the Plains Indians, the mountain men for weeks and weeks, and how they interacted with other tribes and things like that. And then we got over to California, where we met the California Indians and the Calumet, the Nez Perce, the Tillamook, the Clatsop, the Chinook, and all of those, the Modoc. You know, we've been meeting those Indians now, or Native Americans, whoever you want to call them. Now we are here at this point. And where do we find their history? I would say we find it in their myths and legends, right? What do you say to that?
Right.
Yeah.
And we find it in the songs that they sing also.
Of course, I'm not a very good singer, so I'm not going to be singing the songs. You know.
No, but I mean, you know, but a lot of people don't know. But you know, you go to a powwow, and many of the dances, there's a history behind them, and there's a story. And so when they dance, it's not just that they're dancing and telling a story. So
yeah.
And so Grandpa sits around the fire and tells stories, but then also when the powwow comes and they dance, they tell stories of the great war eagle and such. So anyway, go ahead, Robert. I'm interrupted again.
Oh no, that's all right. As we get going, we're going to find out all about this stuff. But then we got we'll just say hello to everybody. Chloe's Crystals is in the house, and Susie Q, she says hello. We also got Witchy Moon. Hey, Hawkeye and Robert.
Hey, y'all.
There is Nina from Beyond Truth, and we will be on Sunday with Dr. Richard Allen. No, we're done. Oh, no, we're on with who's that guy? I can't remember now. But anyway, we got some scientist guy on. Slips my mind. When I think of scientist guys, we got John Price Auto Works is in the house. Hello. We also, we got Elderberry. Hiya, he says. Debbie Smith, thank you for joining us. She says, howdy, everyone. Yes, this is a place to come if you want to meet people and chat and chit chat and talk with us and ask us questions of all kinds. We'll be here happy to understand them. Then tonight this is a show about stories and myths and legends, and we got plenty of stories tonight. And we also, Dr. Turi, that's who we're going to have on Sunday on Beyond Truth. So join me and Nina over there on Beyond Truth. And if you haven't subbed to Beyond Truth to see our strange and wild tales and truth and more, go over there. The link is in the description below. Sub to them. to us, I should say, and catch us on Sunday nights at 8 o'clock Central Time, and I don't know, it's 6 o'clock Eastern, and whatever it is on the Pacific Coast with all this time change, I can't tell. But that's who we got. Dr. Turi. I knew it was a doctor. We got Shadow Aspen. Thank you for coming. Hello, fresh beaver skins and listening. Great. Elderberry says hi, Hawkeye. Anyway, we're gonna get into some good tales tonight. Let's see, where's my notes here? And as we begin tonight, we're stepping into the Pacific Northwest, of course, cedar country, salmon rivers, fog off the water. Imagine this in your mind as you're sitting there in your chair, and the mountains. They don't just sit there; they watch. They watch us. In this part of the world, the old stories were never just entertainment. They're how people explain the land and the storms and the animals, the seasons and power that lived inside them. Hawkeye and I are going to share myths and legends from Washington and Oregon and the way they're meant to be heard as living stories tied to real places we're talking about. Raven and daylight and thunderbird and the shakes that shakes the sky and the forces that carve the rivers and raise the mountains. And the reason certain landmarks like the Cascades, the Dales and the Great Falls carry a story as old as memory. And we're starting right here. A lot of Northwest telling starts in the dark when the daylight isn't given. It's something that has to be won. So settle in and listen close. If you got a legend from your family, your tribe, or your corner of the Northwest, we'll drop it in the chat tonight, and we'll pick it up a little later. But tonight is Pacific Northwest Myths and Legends. And once these stories get going, you'll feel why this land has never been silent. And that's how
you were talking about other things, and one of the things, because I was friends with a Tlingit legend keeper for many years, and I hope he's still alive, but it's been 10 years since I've heard. But anyway, one of the important critters, at least for the Tlingit, was the raven.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't hear the word raven when you were saying stuff, Robert. So I wanted to bring that up because, to him, it was like, oh, yeah, Raven, Raven brought this. And, if it wasn't for Raven, and I was like, so, well, all right, so let's go. Raven.
Oh, Raven. Yeah. Well, John Price says, Dave, have you recorded his tow truck song yet? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, when I was stuck in the river all night long, waiting on the tow truck, waiting on the tow truck, stuck in the river. Anyway, that's the preliminary of the tow truck song. So, all right.
And there's Lucky Stone. Happy Tribal Thursday. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. And remember, on Nina has a sub to her YouTube and find a giveaway video she put out there. Winning on a Corona prize pack with white light spray. 5 ways to enter for free. You can't beat that, people. You can't beat that. Elderberry says, oh, great. I got to hear it. Good. I want to hear more next week. You got to write all the rest of the lyrics. That's pretty good. Bring out the ukulele or something. We'll be all good. John Price is luckily. Yeah, there you go. All right, it's all good. Let's see, where am I here? Okay, so the history behind this stuff. Before we jump into the stories, I want to do a little background. And these legends come from many different Native nations across the Pacific Northwest. Washington and Oregon especially, with some stories from nearby regions too. This isn't the Northwest tribe alone. The book that I'm going to be reading the stories from We're using the is a source of many nations and many tales, like the Namino or the Tinglet connected, the Klamath, the Nez Perce. And you probably heard of some of these people: the Timmuk, the Kassap, the Chinook, and the Kiklek, and others. And I hope I pronounced all those right. If not, well, I did my darndest. The point is that these place stories and are from these people, and they're all tied together. Now, the versions we're reading tonight come from a 1910 collection selected by Catherine Barry Judson. This is from one of those really old books that I have. She didn't claim she invented these stories. She said she selected them and rewrote some to keep the simple story shape. And she learned heavily on government ethnologists and academic resources of that era, way back in 1910. Remember, they're a lot closer to the native tribes back then than we are now. If you were interviewing somebody in 1910, they could have been born before they even seen a white man and telling the story. Yeah.
Especially in the Northwest. But, all that stuff you just read, it means that the author she took artistic license to write it.
That's right.
The author says, "Oh man, I did this and I checked on that." Artistic license. We understand. Go ahead, yeah. Robert.
So, what are these stories really? They're not just fairy tales. In native life, stories are a kind of knowledge. They explain what the world is like and why it is that way and how people should live inside it. I know we have more of that today, right? They carry rules and warnings and survival truth in the form that you can remember. They also have maps. In this region, stories are attached to real landmarks, mountains, rivers, passes, falls. A story can tell you what a place means, why it's sacred, and why certain actions bring consequences. And there's another layer. These stories are often come from a time the books call before the first grandfather, when animal persons like raven and coyote are acting in this world like that's still being shaped. That doesn't mean it's childish. It means it's a story that is operating in a myth time where the rules of nature and human behavior and even the land forms are being established. So why are these stories passed down? They were passed down for big reasons. First, there was for teaching. They teach children how to behave, how to be, not to be greedy, how to share, and how to respect their elders, how to listen. Second, survival knowledge, fire, food, weather, winter. These aren't just things that are out there. This is a story about fire. Theft is also a story about why fire matters and how a community survives because of the fire. Third, identity and continuity. These stories say things like, this is who we are and this is how we belong to the land. Fourth, relationship with the natural world. Many Northwest traditions treat animals, the river and the mountains, and having power and presence. The story keeps that relationship alive. And why should we listen today? Well, because these stories can carry a worldview we've lost in modern life. The land is not just scenery. It's a living system. You must live with, not take from. And so, like when you go camping, don't litter, you bring it, pack it with. The stories also remind us that the Northwest wasn't empty. Before settlers, it was already named, known and understood in deep time. And who knows, maybe you live in a town that was named after an Indian name or a tradition or who knows, maybe your town has even got an Indian name and you don't even know it. And even if we're not from those nations, listen listening with respect makes us better neighbors on the same ground. So tonight we're going to tell a few of these legends and stories, and we'll pause and ask, what is this story teaching us? And what place is it tied to? And what does it say about how to live life? Yes, go ahead.
And one of the biggest things that you haven't mentioned is it's the history of the tribes.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, there's all of these things that you just mentioned, but each individual tribe, even though their stories may be similar, the stories of the tribes will be tribal only. And having known someone, the legend keeper from the it's pronounced Tlingit, Tlin, Tlingit. It's a TL. So, but anyway, but the things that the stories and the legends that he told me, that the state of Alaska a few years back accepted the oral traditions of the Tlingit as as history. So anyway,
well,
but history, that's all I wanted to bring up, was that each of the tribes and each of the stories, that there's history in every one of them. We might not see it, but they can hear what the history is. So go ahead, Robert. I interrupted again.
Well, no, that's all right. You bring up a good question, and it's history, because remember, they didn't have a written language. Nope. I don't know if there was any. I don't even know if there was any tribe that actually had a written language, before the white man got here. And with that said, the only way to pass on their knowledge was either drawing pictures on a cave or something, or a hillside or a cliffside like they do in Arizona,
or a teepee.
Or a teepee, yes. But the biggest one is to tell stories to their children, and they would tell these stories over and over and over, until the child could repeat them over and over and over exactly. And with that, they would pass them on to their children over generations. Right?
Oh yeah. Some of the books that we've read from are almost 200 years old, 150 years old.
Yeah. And
some of those stories then came from, hundreds of years before the person wrote them down. So, these stories are very old. And there are archaeologists today. It got tongue twisted. Archaeologists today. Oh yeah, oral tradition goes back about 500 years. Nah, these stories go back thousands of years. And I'm sorry, but the white man don't give them credit. It's like, well, they told these stories for a while, and and they come up with this arbitrary, number. But these stories have been told for thousands of years. So go ahead, Robert.
Yeah. Chloe says her little town is called Little River. There you go. When I grew up in a town called Cedar, which was Yellow River. It was an Indian name given to the Yellow River. I lived down here in North Dakota near the Knife River. And that was named the Knife River because that's where the natives would go to get that flint, or the stones that they would make into arrowheads, down by the Knife River.
And Knife River probably meant because I live near the, it's 30 miles away, but near the Flint River. And certain rivers have certain types of flint. And if it's the Knife River, it's probably because the flint was so good that they could make a knife with.
Yes.
And so that's how it got its name. And in my backyard, as my property line, is the Little Ocklackney River. And Ocklackney land of twisted waters, and the river goes like this. There are straight runs, but it's very crooked. So my town is named after a Confederate general, but the river was named by the local creeks and the Cherokee Indian. So
there you go. Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff. I mean, people don't even realize some of their states, like Kansas. There was a tribe of Kansas Indians. What else is there? But you can go on and on and on about how many things we have in our world that are named, like, Winnebago. I mean, who hasn't heard of Winnebago trailers or Pontiacs? I'm sure you've all rode in a Pontiac at one time or another car. That was named after what? An Indian, Pontiac, famous chief. And so our whole world is made up of Indian names, and we don't probably even know it. That's kind of sad. We just take it as everyday things, and we took their language and made it into an English language, and we have no clue. Right?
Yep. And down in Florida, there are a lot of Indian names from the Seminoles, and there's Wakala, and there's Weeki Wachi, and there's all of these other places, and so but yeah, depending on where you live, I'm sure that within 50 miles there's a town named after some kind of Indian thing.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, so tonight we're going to be talking, our first story is going to be the origin of daylight. In the book we're using tonight is labeled as Niamolo, modification of a Tlingit legend. As you were just saying earlier.
Tlingit.
Okay.
Yep.
Tlingit legend. So you're hearing a Northwest Coast style Raven story. Raven is one of the who can't stand things being locked up and hidden from people. And as you listen, don't listen for good guy versus bad guy. Listen for the lessons, the life lesson that he's trying to teach. And when one being hoards it and the whole world suffers. This story explains why daylight belongs to everyone, and why it also teaches that sometimes change comes through trickery and not permission. Okay, as soon as I find the story here.
And our second story tonight is about the boy who pulled down the sun, or anyway. So we've got two sun stories tonight. Go ahead, Robert.
Okay, let's see here. It's called Raven in the Box of Daylight. Remember, everybody, I see Lucky reminded me, you got all these cards to pick from. He was nice enough to put them in the chat. So pick from these cards and put your answers in there. And soon after after we get done with the stories, you'll be picking some cards tonight, right?
Right. And I may be picking them during the show. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Just don't tell anybody. We don't want no hints. And you get your cards in. They're all in the chat here, and we'll find out what they are. Thank you, Lucky, for putting them up. Okay. So, Raven in the Box of Daylight. When the world was young, it wasn't bright the way we know it. And if I can share this, maybe you can see this too. We'll have to do the share screen thing, so you can see what I'm reading. Okay. Now you can see my notes here. When the world was young and it wasn't as bright the way we know it, it was cold and it was dim. So dim that even the stars were said to be black. And the reason was simple. Daylight didn't exist, but it wasn't free. Gull had it. Not out in the sky, not spread across the world. Gull kept it locked in a small box, guarded close like treasure. And the raven, who was Gull's cousin, had grown tired of walking through a world that felt half asleep. One day, Raven and Gull were out walking together in the dark, and Raven looked down at the trail and thought to himself, I wish Gull would step on a thorn. And as these stories go, when Raven thinks it hard enough, and hey, it has a way of happening. Gull yelped and hopped on one foot. My foot, he cried. Raven came close, all kindness in his face. Let me see, he said. I'll put it out. But Raven leaned in and shook his head. It's too dark. I can't see the thorn. Gull didn't want to open the box. He didn't want to share even a sliver of that light. But the pain in his foot was sharp, and he wanted it gone. So he cracked it a little, just a little. Only a thin breath of light leaked out. Raven squinted like he was trying. Not enough, he said. Open it more. Gull groaned and Raven pretended to feel the thorn, but instead of pulling it free, Raven pushed it deeper. And every time Gull cried out, Raven said the same thing, calm and firm. More light. Gull cracked the box wider, and Raven pushed again. More light. Finally, Gull threw the lid open just to end the pain, and daylight burst out like a living thing spilling across the world. And that's how the story says daylight came. Not as a gift handed over gently, but taken loose by Raven's stubbornness and his trickery. Now, what is the lesson for this? Hawkeye, what do you think?
Well, one would be don't be greedy, you know. Yeah. Gull was, it's all for me, the lesson to the little children would be, Gull should have shared what he had in that box.
Yeah.
So if I were telling the story, that's what I would be. So listen, children, this is a story about sharing, all the critters, everybody, walked around in a very dim light, and they used to bump into things all the time. And Gull got a splinter and couldn't get it out because there wasn't enough light. So you should share.
That's
and
right.
You shouldn't be greedy and hold things to yourself, especially if it can help everybody else. So in tribal things, it's like, see, once we had daylight, we all could work together and we could see better. And Gull was being, he was being greedy. He was being selfish. That's the word. So anyway, That's a nice brief story and it's to the point. So
that's right. So the next one we got is Coyote, and in just a second here, and I'll pull that one up. It'll take me a second, but anyway, it's about greed. If Gull would just gave it out, it should have been shared. But that's so. The next one we're going to do is how
sharing can benefit everyone.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And sometimes you have to maybe coerce somebody to share, because not everybody's in the sharing mood, but that's the way it is. The next one,
and not everything can be shared.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Okay, so the next one we got is how Coyote stole the fire. In this collection, it's Coyote's story from the Northwest world, where Coyote isn't just an animal. He's the mover and the troublemaker, and sometimes the helper who changes life for human beings. We know Coyote quite well, don't we? The book's preface even talks about Coyote as a crafty, one of those adventurers who gets grouped around things like theft of fire and teaching us useful things. Okay, so sorry, should have blocked that out, but that's all right. You guys can watch me scroll.
Coyote teaches us how to use an anvil.
Yeah, exactly. to catch the roadrunner.
I'm sorry, I made myself laugh.
Okay, Coyote steals the fire. Long ago, the story says people were cold and miserable, not because they were weak, because fire wasn't theirs. The only fire in the world burned on top of a mountain, guarded by three powerful beings called shookums. And it sounds spooky. They watched it all day and all night. And Coyote wanted people to be warm. He wanted people to be cooking fires and winter fires and light in the dark. So he went up to the mountain and studied the guards. He watched how they took turns. One sat by the fire while the others went into the lodge. Then they switched. Always someone was there until the moment the dawn wind rose. That was a weak spot. When the cold dawn wind hit, the guard would shiver and rush inside, calling for his sister to come out and watch. The sister was always a little slow, just slow enough. So Coyote went down and called a council of the animals. If I steal the fire, he told them, they will chase me. I can't outrun them alone. We have to pass it. Hand to hand until it's safe. And before daybreak, Coyote crept back up. He hid and waited for the dawn wind. The guard called out, "Sister, sister, get up and watch the fire." But the sister was slow. Coyote lunged. He grabbed the fire and sprang down the mountain. The shookum leapt after him so fast, her hands caught the tip of his tail. And in this story, that's why Coyote's tail has a tip of white to this day. Well, Coyote reached Wolf first, and Wolf, he snatched a fire and bound down the hill. The shookum chased Wolf. Wolf reached Squirrel. Squirrel grabbed the fire and raced from branch to branch. The heat burned the back of his neck. And so the story says that's why Squirrel has a dark mark there. And that's why his tail curves over his back. The shookum caught up again. So Squirrel tossed the fire to a frog. Frog clamped the coals in his mouth and hopped away. The shookum grabbed him, caught his tail, and the frog jumped free, leaving the tail behind. And that's why frogs have no tail. But shookum was still right there. Frog had to save the fire fast. So Frog spit the coals into wood. Wood swallowed the fire and held it inside. And now the shookum didn't know how to pull fire out of wood. She couldn't steal it back, but Coyote did. Coyote taught the people how to bring fire out again by rubbing dry sticks together the way people did for generations. And that's how the story says fire became something humans can carry, not as a gift, but as a rescue run, passed through the animal nations and hidden in the heart of wood itself. And there we go. What do you think of that one?
That's interesting. And did you notice there's all the animals, and then Frog spits it out into what?
Wood.
Now, wood, but see, there's animals. So the story is talking about animals, and now he spits it into wood, but you know, they don't know what to do. But they're the story is considering wood as a living thing like the animals.
Yep.
So there are stories, and you know, if anybody that you know reads J.R. Tolkien, you know, what about the Ents, giant trees that walked, you know? And there are stories that say trees used to move around. You know, of course there's stories, but you know, so Tolkien talked about, you know, trees walking around, the Ents,
Yep.
as he named them, in Middle Earth. So, but in the story, though, my point is, it's almost like the trees were like imps. Like, here, catch, here's some fire. And they went up to the ant and said, burn, and then said, never mind. And Coyote figured it out. So, but anyway, think about that. Why wood? And obviously it was a tree.
Yep. I know. And then we still have wood today, which means there's fire inside it. Rubbing two sticks together brings a fire out. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Yes, and also how sacred trees are.
Yes, exactly.
That's what I meant by, it goes down all the animals, and then here's trees got it, wood's got it. So, but anyway, trees are special, y'all.
Yeah, that is true. Go hug a tree. It's there to help you. Okay, so now the next one is the Bridge of the Gods. This one takes place, the Bridge of the Gods. It's tied to the Columbia River and the Cascade Mountains. It's one of those Northwest stories that explains the land like it has memory. This telling is a power called the Tahi Shahale. Divides the country between peoples, how it raised the Cascades to keep peace, and then makes a great stone bridge across the river so the tribes can visit and trade. But the story turns on a warning. When jealousy and violence take over the bridge, the connection gets destroyed, and the river becomes dangerous and in narrow places. Okay, so listen to this and ask yourself, what's the point and the purpose of it, and why it is what it is. So,
and the value,
and we're going to talk about it afterwards. So as soon as I find it here, and I share it, we'll be on the way.
Okay, cards now.
Yeah, get your cards all set because they're coming soon. Okay, the Bridge of the Gods. This story begins when the world is still new and the river that we know as the Columbia runs through a land so beautiful that the people can't help but want it. The Tahi Shahale came down the great river with his two sons. And when they reached the country near where the Dales would be, both sons wanted the same land. They argued until it became a quarrel that could turn into a war. So Shahale ended the argument in a strange way. He took his bow and shot two arrows, one to the north and one to the west. And he told his sons, go find the arrows. Find them where they lie, and the land will be yours. One son followed the arrow north and became the first grandfather for the Kitchatak people. The other followed the arrow west to Willamette County or country and became the first grandfather of the Malmoth people. But the Shahale understood something. Even if you divide the land, jealousy can keep traveling. So he raised up great mountains between the countries. Mountains we call the Cascade Range. So they would not keep crossing into one another's territory to quarrel. Yet Shahale didn't want separation to become hatred. He wanted the river to be a sign of peace. So he made a great stone bridge across the great river so the tribes could visit and they could trade and they remained friends. It was called the Bridge of Tomowanos, the Bridge of the Gods. Time passed and the people grew. And then the story says they began to do wrong, things that offended Shahale. The sun stopped shining. Cold and snow came, and people suffered because they had no fire. Only a woman named Leowit had a fire. People tried to steal it from her, but the cold had stiffened their legs and they couldn't catch her. Leowit went to Shahale and told him, the people are freezing. Jehael had pity, but so he built a great fire on a stone bridge so that the people could come take it. And he promised Leawitt something rare, eternal youth and beauty. So Leawitt became a beautiful maiden, and that's where peace turned into trouble because the chiefs began to fight over her. And from the north came Catholic, from the west came the Wyest. Both wanted Lowit, and she would not choose. The rivalry spread into their people. They began fighting and grew. The blood was shed, and the great river, meant to be a sign of peace, became a line of hatred. Jehael looked down and judged what he saw. So he destroyed what he had built. He broke the stone bridge. Great rocks fell into the river, and the story says you can still see the signs of it. Stone, broken country, even buried forests visible when waters are quiet. Then Jehael, something final. He changed the chiefs into snow peaks so their quarrel would end and their pride would be frozen. Lowit became Mount St. Helens. Cacolet became Mount Adams, and Wyest became Mount Hood. Afterwards, when the old quarrel flared again, the peaks threw rocks into the great river and narrowed it into a swift, dangerous water, what we call the Dales. And that was the story of how the Northwest explains the land, not as a dead rock, but as a memory. Mountains as people, rivers as laws, and peace as something that we can be built and broken. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that story.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And just kind of in contrast, if some of you might remember that the stories that I've read were that, the animals, went and stole the fire.
Yep.
Versus the people, or and so that how the different animals, I can't remember right offhand, but how they lost their tail from the fire, from carrying it across the water, and and so forth. And so so this story did not include animals, is sort of my point.
Yeah.
Where other stories have the animals stealing the fire from the gods or from another person who is the keeper of the fire. I think one of one of them was that Bear was the keeper of the fire, and there were all these critters, and they went up, and it was like, hey man, what about it? And finally, they just had to go steal it. So, but anyway, so I'm saying that just as in contrast to this is the Northwest way over here, separated by a bunch of mountains, and we're not even talking about, the Rocky Mountains and the Great Divide. And so, which they didn't know about at the time,
Yeah.
And so, but then my point is that really separates us, Eastern Coast, from them folk up there in the Northwest.
Yep. No, I agree.
And that's why the stories are so different. Go ahead, Robert.
Okay, so we're going to go on to our next story, which is the Talipus and the Cedar Tree. It's a class stop story. This is class stop. The Talipus is the trickster here, and often the same character known as Coyote. Smart. Coyote is smart. He's restless, always testing the world like it's a game. And the story is set in Cedar County, a real place. And that matters. In the Pacific Northwest, cedar isn't just a tree, it's your shelter, tools, canoe, clothing, and survival. And so
cedar is also sacred. And so sometimes cedar shavings are burnt as an offering. Go ahead, Robert.
Okay. So when Telephus starts playing with the cedar like it's a toy, you already know that what kind of lesson's coming. So as you listen to this, don't treat it like a joke. You got to assume there's a lesson to be learned there. So as I get to my notes again, we will read this story because this one sounds interesting. I always love coyote ones. So hang on, we're getting to it. And share. Remember to put in your guesses for the cards, please. Do it now. Do it now. Okay, here we go. Telephus in the cedar tree. Okay, Telephus is coyote. He was traveling the coast in the forest when he found a cedar tree so big it seemed alive. The trunk was hollow, and a gap in the wood opened and closed as the tree swayed. Telephus laughed and said, "Open, cedar tree," and the tree opened. Telephus hopped inside. "Shut, cedar tree," and the tree shut. At first, Telephus thought this was the funniest thing in the world. He made the tree open and close again and again, like a child playing with a door. Then he shouted, "Open, cedar tree," and nothing happened. He kicked and he yelled. The cedar tree didn't open. So Telephus called for help. Birds came. Wren first pecking until her beak was blunt. Sparrow, robin, finch, none could break the bark. Owl, raven, hawk, eagle, still nothing. Finally, little woodpecker made a tiny hole, and then Yellowhammer made it bigger. But the hole wasn't big enough. So Telephus did what most trickster things think unimaginable. He took himself apart, leg, paw, tail, ear, slipped each piece through the hole, and crawled back onto the forest floor. He put himself together and then realized his eyes were missing. Raven had been watching the whole time. Raven had stolen Telephus's eyes. And that's the ending the story gives you. But even the smartest trickster can get out tricked, especially when Raven is nearby. So again, what's the moral of this story? Can we figure that one out?
Don't lose your eyes, and I don't know. That's a weird one. What is your take, Robert?
Well, I think it's the part where, Coyote's, he's having fun, and then he was out tricked. He was having fun, and somebody else was having fun with his fun. Here, he's making us go through all this work because he was opening and shutting the door, and now he's trapped. And then we get him finally out, and now let's go hide his eyes. Raven thinks, I'll play a trick on him, right?
Yeah. So, but here's something that we're kind of led to assume because it's Coyote.
Yeah.
And that he being the trickster, hey, tree, open up. And so he did. Now, is he playing a trick on the tree?
Yeah. Well,
see, that's my point. We're assuming that Coyote's playing a trick on the tree, like open up. No, okay, now close. Open up. Close. Now we're to assume that that's what's happening, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't say that. He goes to the tree and says, "Open." Tree opens. He goes inside and says, "Okay, tree, close." So after he'd done his stuff and he says, "Okay, open back up," tree ain't playing the game. But the thing is, was Coyote actually playing a game? Where's the trick in this that the tree won't let him out?
Well, I think the tree was having fun with Coyote, you know, because Tree in this case, I think, is almost like a live character. Was
It
playing
is.
with Coyote. Then Coyote got trapped, and then he called for help. And then in the end, he got tricked too by Raven. You know, so it was a constant thing. You know, Tree started it, Coyote, you know, with Coyote, then all the animals came in to help, and then Raven got the last laugh because he took the eyes. It's kind of funny. So
Yeah, but you see where I'm coming from with as far as, you know, it in the story, it assumes that you know Coyote's the trickster.
yeah.
He probably put although it doesn't say so, he's probably playing a trick on, you know, on the cedar, and you know, so there is a lot of assumption in the story, a
Yeah.
lot of stuff that is not said. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They assume you know that Coyote's a trickster. They assume, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sorry. That's
No,
what I got out of the story.
yeah,
You know,
well,
like,
that's the thing. I mean, it's whatever you get out of the story. A story's a story. You know, it's what you pull from the story. And I think a lot of times is that, you know, they would hear the story over and over again. Think about it. You hear the story this time, and you hear the story a year from now. You might get some different take on it by your life experiences. You get what I'm saying?
oh yeah, and I mean, when you hear the story at the age of 4, you're going to go ooh, and it's going to be something else. But when you're 10 and
Yeah.
you're starting to go into puberty, you know, it's something else. And then when it's time for your, you know, your vision quest, you know, a few years later as a teen, you're like, and it means something else. So absolutely, Robert,
Mhm.
I agree.
Yeah. 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 Let's see here. Anyway, okay. Let's see. Okay, so people are picking their cards. Coyote Lucky says Coyote and Raven are both tricksters. Coyote is dominant in the plains, southwest and western tribes. Raven prevails in the Pacific Northwest. This is just true. And both heroes and fools. Yes, so okay. Yeah, I get that. It makes a lot of sense.
But
So
remember that Raven is the keeper of the magic.
yeah, yeah.
Raven is the keeper of the knowledge because, you know, feathers of the raven. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of crow. Never mind.
Okay.
But no,
Okay.
but I mean, you know, Raven in a lot of ways is, you know, the carrier of messages, and you know. So, but anyway, go ahead, Robert.
No, you're up. I got the story pulled up. Now it's your turn to tell some tales.
Oh, holy camoles!
Yeah.
I don't know how many of you are out there just pulling cards in your head, but you know, I got a slew of them up here on the computer.
Well, good deal. Yeah,
I
because
won't tell you what it is, but a couple of names that was already called are not in the spread. So
yeah, yeah. I know everybody's putting in the cards. They think Scotty Boy hasn't yet. He usually does. But yeah, okay. Anyway, I think Susie Q put in. Yeah, she's got Mountain Lion or something like that.
nope.
Susie wants
Pick
Mountain
another.
or Cougar, one or the other.
Nope. Pick another.
Eagle, bat, squirrel, snake. I think Scotty Boy's picking woodpecker.
Nope.
So. Well, remember last week it was all bugs. Bugs. Butter, everything that flies, hummingbird and
They were flying things, yes.
flying things. Everything is flying things.
And there are flying things in this, but also there are ground critters.
Oh, Witchy Moon has got swan, buffalo, lynx, whale, butterfly, deer, lizard, fox, coyote, and armadillo. Elderberry's got owl, frog, hawk, because it's hanging around watching my chickens. and lizard and snake. There you
Nope.
go. And Chloe's got antelope, frog, turkey, skunk, and swan, and she's going to add hummingbird. There you
She
go.
got
We got a
one
bunch of,
right. Wait, she got two right.
holy cow. Lucky's got butterfly, lizard, swan, raven, grouse, and those are my picks. And no matter what Hawkeye says, I will not change my picks.
Okay, but you there none of those are in this spread. So
Oh, you make it so difficult. Okay, let's move on to the story.
but I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got 8 cards pulled.
Oh my gosh,
So
people! If you can't pick
it's a
one,
big spread.
you get out of 30 cards, you can't pick one. Shame on all you. So anyway,
So give me a second. In order to get to the computer, I have to
go right ahead. Take your time.
hang on. I gotta stack the cards out of the way. So
Mhm.
and I don't want to lose, the order in which they are.
Yeah.
So there's only one bug this time.
Yeah,
But
John Price.
1, 2,
John Price has got butterfly, dragonfly,
3.
raven, spider, and rabbit.
Yeah,
Yeah, we haven't had rabbit in a while. I think rabbit should be there.
it is.
Oh, look at that. He's right off the.
In fact, it's the last card.
Dang.
Hey, we did this the last time. You come up with something, and I was like, well, it's the last card. Remember?
Yep.
So Rabbit's last card. That's the only one I'm going to give away.
Okay.
All right. I gotta find. I got the story pulled up, but it's because of the story. Oh, there it comes. Come on. When I turned it on this afternoon, it had already no, no. Where is it? Nope. There it is. Okay, so the story tonight. Are we ready to go?
You're ready. As soon as you say go.
Yeah, I'm ready now. Okay.
Okay, it's all yours.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, hobos and tramps, cross-eyed mosquitoes, and bow-legged ants. Our story for tonight comes from the same book that I've been reading from in the last 4 or 5 stories. And it comes from Folklore and Legends, North American Indian by Philadelphia, J.B. Lippincott Company, 1891. The story tonight is The Discovery of the Upper World. The Minotrees and all the other Indians who are not of the stock of the grandfather of nations were once not of this upper air, but dwelt in the bowels of the earth. The good spirit, when he made them, meant, no doubt, at a proper time, to put them in enjoyment of all the good things which he had prepared for them. Oh, come on. I'm sorry. I'm having computer issues. Come on. it refuses to scroll. Okay, it put me back. So let me start over. The discovery of the upper world. The Minotrees and all the other Indians who were not of the stock of the grandfather of nations were once not of this upper air, but dwelt in the bowels of the earth. The good spirit, when he made them, meant no doubt at a proper time to put them in enjoyment of all the good things which he had prepared for them upon earth. But he ordered that their first stage of existence should be within it. They all dwelt underground, like moles, in one great cavern. When they emerged, it was in different places, but generally near where they now inhabit. At that time, few of the Indian tribes wore the human form. Some had the figures or semblances of beasts. The Panawakuts were rabbits. Some of the Delaware were groundhogs. Others, tortoises. And the Tuscaroras and a great many others were rattlesnakes. The Sioux were the hissing snakes, but the Minataris were always men. Their part of the great cavern was situated far towards the mountains of snow. The great cavern in which the Indians dwelt was indeed a dark and dismal region. In the country of the Minataris, it was lighted up only by the rays of the sun, which strayed through the fissures of the rock and the crevices in the roof of the cavern, while in that of the Mengawi, all was dark and sunless. The life of the Indians was a life of misery compared with that they now enjoy. And it was endured only because they were ignorant of a fairer or richer world or a better or happier state of being. There were among the Minataris 2 boys who, from the hour of their birth, showed superior wisdom and sagacity and cunning. Even while they were children, they were wiser than their fathers. They asked their parents whence the light came, which streamed through the fissures of the rock and played along the sides of the cavern, and whence and from what descended the roots of the great vine. Their father could not tell them, and their mother only laughed at the question, which appeared to her to be very foolish. They asked the priest, but he could not tell them. But he said he supposed the light came from the eyes of some great wolf. The boys asked the king tortoise, who sulkily drew his head into his shell and made no answer. When they asked the chief rattlesnake, he answered that he knew, and he would tell them all about it if they would promise to make peace with his tribe, and on no account kill one of his descendants. The boys promised, and the chief rattlesnake then told them that there was a world above them, a beautiful world, peopled by creatures in the shape of beasts, having a pure atmosphere and a soft sky, sweet fruits and mellow water, well-stocked hunting grounds, and well-filled lakes. He told them to ascend by the roots, which were those of a great grapevine. A while after the boys were missing, nor did they come back till the Minataris had celebrated their death. And the lying priest had, as he falsely said, in a vision seen them inhabitants of the land of the spirits. The Indians were surprised by the return of the boys. They came back singing and dancing and were grown so much and looked so different from when they had when they what they did when they left the cavern, that their father and mother scarcely knew them. They were sleek and fat, and when they walked, it was with so strong a step that the hollow space rang with the sound of their feet. They were covered with the skins of animals and had blankets of the skins of raccoons and beavers. They described to the Indians the pleasures of the upper world, and the people were delighted with their story. At length they resolved to leave their dull residence underground. I'm coming. Doggone it. It won't let me scroll. I'll catch up in a second. Go get a drink.
You gonna be okay? You got it?
Yeah, I got the story up, but the computer is not letting me scroll,
Oh,
and that's my issue. So I was doing it was doing just fine, and then it skipped down like 10 pages. So
oh, I hate when that happens.
I'm coming back up on it again. So
Oh, okay.
now it's letting me do it. So I hate to start over, but
You are I forget what page you're on here. Oh,
yeah,
35.
so
You're
I
on
know
page
where I'm
35.
at now here. I'll start at the beginning of this paragraph.
Okay.
The Indians were surprised by the return of the boys. They came back singing and dancing and were grown so much and looked so different from what they did when they left the cavern that their father and mother scarcely knew them. They were sleek and fat, And when they walked, it was so strong a step that the hollow space rang with the sound of their feet. They were covered with the skins of animals and had blankets of the skins of raccoons and beavers. They described to the Indians the pleasures of the upper world, and the people were delighted with their story. At length, they resolved to leave their dull residence underground for the upper regions. All agreed to do this except the groundhog, the badger, and the mole, who said, as they had been put where they were, they would live and die there. The rabbit said he would live sometimes above and sometimes below. When the Indians had determined to leave their habitations underground, the Minotavaries began, men, women, and children, to clamber up the vine, and one half of them had already reached the surface of the earth when a dire mishap involved the remainder in a still more desolate captivity within its bowels. There was among them a very fat old woman who was heavier than any 6 of her nation. Nothing would do but she must go up before some of her neighbors. Anyway, she clambered, but her weight was so great that the vine broke with it, and the opening to which it afforded the sole means of ascending closed upon her head and the rest of her nation. The end.
Oh, and there we go. Good story. Too bad
I'm
it got
trying to
broke up a
get
little bit there, but that's all right.
I'm trying to get this thing to scroll again.
Okay. No
Thank you.
worries. I'll just say hello to everybody. Scotty Boy, come join us. Witchy Moon. Desert Rose. Thank you for joining us. Susie Q. All those, yeah. Thank you, everybody. Remember to get your cards pulled. Scotty, you're a little late. And everybody, I think other ones got every card. Some got. You already know there's rabbit out there, so there you go.
Yeah, okay. So this next story is called The Boy Who Snared the Sun.
Okay, it's all yours.
Oh, golly, Moses. I'm sorry, it did it again. Almost there. Hang on. No, no.
You gonna make it? Or did it jump again?
Oh, it really jumped. Lord have mercy.
Oh no.
Oh, it took me entirely out of the story. No,
Oh.
no.
Hmm. Well, that's not good. Well.
No, it took me to YouTube. Like, what?
What? It's all because you updated your computer.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I mean, over the years, it's like, this is the computer that you got me. And it's like everything's fine and groovy. And then all of a sudden, it's like everything wants to act up. And it's like, wait a minute, I don't use this computer much. Most of the time, it's just with you. And
Yeah.
so it's like, I do not understand this. And I mean, it took me out.
Ah, well, that's too bad. You
Yeah,
have to
well, I'm gonna have to zoom in on yours, and I'll figure this out later on. Just hang
okay.
on. It doesn't want to.
Do what you gotta do. Otherwise, I was gonna say, you might have to shut her off and reboot it. That usually fixes things. You got too many cookies or
What
something.
the dickens is this thing doing?
Hmm. You may have to shut it off and try again. That's how it usually fixes for me. Shut it off.
I'm
Especially
talking
after
to you. Wait, hang on.
you update. The best is to shut it off and restart.
All right. The boy who snared the sun. All right. That's as big as you can make it. I'll see.
Yeah.
Let me put my glasses on. That'll help me with up close. Okay. That's good. I'll be able to read it from there.
Okay.
Okay. Ready?
Yep.
All right. Sorry, folks, for the delay. Computers are a mess. And I don't think AI is going to take over the world. So, anyway, the boy who snared the sun. At the time when the animals reigned on the earth, they had killed all but a girl and her little brother. And these two were living in fear and seclusion. The boy was a perfect pygmy, never growing beyond the stature of a small infant. But the girl increased with her years, so that the labor of providing food and lodging devolved wholly on her. She went out daily to get wood for their lodge fire and took her brother with her so that no accident might happen to him, for he was too little to leave alone. A big bird might have flown away with him. She made him a bow and arrows and said to him one winter's day, I will leave you behind where I have been chopping. You must hide yourself, and you will see the gitchy gitchy goo guan, I see oog, or snowbirds come, and pick the worms out of the wood where I've been chopping. Shoot one of them and bring it home. He obeyed her and tried his best to kill one, but came home unsuccessful. She told him he must not despair, but to try again the next day. Scroll down. She accordingly left him at the place where she got wood and returned home. Towards nightfall, she heard his footsteps on the snow and came in exultingly and threw down one of the birds he had killed. My sister, said he, I wish you to skin it and stretch the skin, and when I have killed more, I will have a coat made out of them. What shall we do with the body? Asked she, for as yet men had not begun to eat animal food, but lived on vegetables alone. Cut it in two, he answered, and season our pottage with one half of it at a time. She did so. The boy continued his efforts and succeeded in killing 10 birds, out of the skins of which his sister made him a little coat. Sister, said he one day, are we all alone in the world? Is there nobody else living? His sister told him that they too alone remained, that the beings who had killed all their relations lived in a certain quarter, and that he must by no means go in that direction. This only served to inflame his curiosity and raise his ambition, and he soon after took his bow and arrows and went to seek the beings of whom his sister had told him. After walking a long time and meeting nothing, he became tired and lay down on a knoll where the sun melted the snow. He fell fast asleep, and while sleeping, the sun beat so hot upon him that it singed and drew up his birdskin coat, so that when he awoke and stretched himself, he felt as it were bound in. He looked down and saw the damage done, and then he flew into a passion, upbraided the sun, and vowed vengeance upon it. "Do not think you are too high," said he. "I shall revenge myself." On coming home, he related his disaster to his sister and lamented bitterly the spoiling of his coat. He would not eat. He lay down as one that fasts and did not stir or move his position for 10 days, though his sister did all she could to arouse him. At the end of 10 days, he turned over and then lay 10 days on the other side. Then he got up and told his sister to make him a snare, for he meant to catch the sun. At first, she said she had nothing, but finally she remembered a little piece of dried deer sinew that her father had left, and this she soon made into a string suitable for a noose. The moment, however, she showed it to her brother, he told her it would not do and bade her get something else. She said she had nothing else, nothing at all, and at last she thought of her hair, and pulling out some of it, made a string. Her brother again said it would not answer and bade her pettishly and with authority make him a noose. She replied that there was nothing to make it of, and went out of the lodge. When she was all alone, she said, "Ni o obewa in the pin." Meanwhile, her brother awaited her, and it was not long before she reappeared with some tiny cord. The moment he saw it, he was delighted. "This will do," he cried, and put the cord to his mouth and began pulling it through his lips. And as fast as he drew it, it changed to a red metal cord of prodigious length, which he wound around his body and shoulders. He then prepared himself and set out a little after midnight that he might catch the sun before it rose. He fixed his snare on a spot just where he thought the sun would appear, and sure enough, he caught it so that it was held fast in the cord and could not rise. The animals who ruled the earth were immediately put into a great commotion. They had no light. They called a council to debate the matter and to appoint someone to go and cut the cord, a very hazardous enterprise. For who dare go so near to the sun as would be necessary. The dormouse, however, undertook the task. At that time, the dormouse was the largest animal in the world, and when it stood up, it looked like a mountain. It set out upon its mission, and when it got to the place where the sun lay snared, it's back again to smoke and burn. So intense was the heat, and the top of its carcass was reduced to enormous heaps of ashes. It succeeded, however, in cutting the cord with its teeth and freed the sun, but was reduced to a very small size and remained so ever since. Men call it the Kogi Bingwakawa. The end of that story. So sorry for the interruption with the computer, but thank you, Robert, for doing the scrolling for me.
That's all right. I'm running the bus. I'm driving the bus, man.
Drive that bus, buddy.
That's right. Oh yeah.
All right, I already let some of the what the cards were out that some folks had picked stuff, and I said nap, you know. So now I'm gonna I got to move things around so I can spread it. Okay. So the first card up is hummingbird. The next card up is turkey. The third card up is moose upside down. Now, I said hummingbird and turkey, they're right side up, by the way. Moose, however, is upside down. The next card up, is otter. I haven't had otter in a while. Otter's playfulness. The next one upside down is dragonfly. The next card up is hawk.
Well, you got that one right.
Card, huh?
Somebody got that one right.
The next card up is mouse. And the last card upside down is rabbit.
Nice.
Rabbit, which is fear. So if it's upside down, it must be trying to get out of fear. So, but anyway, let me get the book and start the interpretations.
Mm-hmm.
So hummingbird is first, which is near the back of the book. In fact, it's the last one in the book. And hummingbird is joy. So we're starting out this spread with joy. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
The song of hummingbird awakens the medicine flowers. Hummer sings a vibration of pure joy. Hummingbird is also associated with the ghost shirt religion, which taught that a certain dance, if done properly, would bring about the return of the animals and that white people would disappear. If hummingbird is your personal medicine, you love life and its joys. Your presence brings joy to others. Keep that in mind. So if people don't like you, then you're not doing your job as hummingbird. Hummingbird holds the bow of beauty, which is delicately inlaid with gold and silver flowers. Hummingbird disdains ugliness or harshness and quickly flies away from the discord or the disharmony. If Hummingbird has flown into your cards, get ready to laugh musically and enjoy Creator's many gifts. In that story, it was like, they were down in a hole in the ground. And, it was like, come on up and explore Creator's gifts. So that, the story and Hummingbird kind of sort of correlate. Ain't that interesting? Drop your judgmental attitude and relax. Hummingbird will no doubt give you a flash of the spirit, darting here and there and everywhere. Hummingbird hears celestial music and is in harmony with it. So follow Sister Hummingbird, and you will soon be filled with all types of joy and experience a renewal of the magic of living. That's important. The magic of living. So many people now these days are only focused on the negative and the war and the this and that. And it's like, you're still alive. You still have to have joy for just waking up every day, the joy of living. Uh-oh. You still there?
Yes,
The screen disappeared.
yes, I am. Oh, I'm
Okay.
here.
All right. Scared the dickens out of me. Rabbit fear. I was on that page. Turkey is the next card up, and it's a giveaway. Um, Turkey was the medicine of many saints and mystics. Celebrate if you have turkey medicine. Your virtues are many. You have transcended the self. Okay. And it's the giveaway is turkey is actually thought to be the giveaway eagle or the southern eagle of many native peoples. The philosophy of giveaway was practiced by many tribes. Simply stated, is the deep and abiding recognition of the sacrifices of both self and others. And basically, it's that the giveaway is that if you have many and someone has none, you give them, you give away. So, um, help and sustenance is given by Turkey out of the realization that all life is sacred. It is knowing that the Great Spirit resides within all people, even the people you don't like, okay? It is an acknowledgement that what you do for others, you also do for yourself. Turkey medicine rests in true ego in the enlightenment. Doing unto others and feeding the people is the message of all true spiritual systems. Depending on how turkey is in your cards, you are being given a gift. Hummingbird, be joyful. And turkey's giving you a gift. How about that? The gift may be great or small, but it is never insignificant. Congratulations, you may have just won the lottery. Or maybe it's just a beautiful sunset. Or maybe the fragrance of flowers. But hummingbird is joyful and turkey has given you a present. The next one is moose. So far, so good, right, everybody? So the next one is moose. Man, he's upside down. Doesn't mean it's bad, just means it's upside down. So moose is self-esteem. So hummingbird is joyful. Turkey is giving you um, a gift, And then you get to moose, and that's self-esteem. Maybe the gift is to help you with your self-esteem. Moose is found in the north of the medicine wheel, as is buffalo. North represents the place of wisdom. Self-esteem is the medicine of moose because it represents the power of recognizing that wisdom has been used in a situation and that recognition or a pat on the back or the head is deserved. Moose is the largest member of the deer family and has great strength. The call of the male moose is an awesome thing to hear. Wisdom throughout this scenario is that creation constantly brings forth new ideas and further creation. Pay attention to this sentence. The wisdom woven throughout this scenario of life is that creation constantly brings forth new ideas and further creation. Think about that. Moose medicine people have the ability to know when to use the gentleness of deer and when to activate the stampede of the buffalo. Now, this is upside down, so here we go. If it's upside down, you're being reminded that ego can ruin your sense of accomplishment. Ego, ooh. Warning, 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 Will Robinson. Remember that others have the same potential that you have, and do not become careless in your appreciation of their gifts. Hummingbird, turkey's giving you a gift. Moose is saying, be careful. Reverse moose implies that in tooting your own horn, you have failed to be interested in others. In other words, you're being a little narcissistic and greedy. One of the stories tonight, don't be greedy. Open the box, let the light out. And you may have failed to be interested in others and have therefore forgotten that everyone teaches everyone. Everyone teaches everyone in some way. Contrary moose medicine may be asking you to grow quietly for a while, to calm your spirit and allow the strength and wisdom of silence to enter your heart. Ooh. So the next one up is otter. Oh, dadgummit. This has been such a weird night with computers, I'll tell you. I lost. Okay, I'm back. All right, otter is number 8 in the book, and it is right side up. Otters like playfulness, I think. Woman medicine. Oops. The medicine held by otter is a set of lessons in female energy. This does apply to both men and women, as all of us have female sides. Otter is very caring of its young and will play for hours, performing all types of acrobats. It lives on land, but always has its home near water. We have otters in the backyard on the river. At home in both of these elements, otter is the personification of femininity with long, sleek, and graceful. Otter is the true coquette of the animal world. Otter's always on the move and is always curious. And so, and it's right and is right side up. So, women medicine in both of this. It may be time to examine your feelings about sharing the bounty of your life. So, hummingbirds like be joyful. Turkey's got a gift. Moose says, make sure your ego ain't in the way. And Otter's saying it might be time to examine your feelings about sharing the bounty of your life with others. Otter may be saying that the finer qualities of the women's side need to be striven for in both men and women so that a unity of spirit can be achieved. So Otter is trying to bring in unity. All right, now the next one up, which is down actually. If you've drawn the otter sign, it may be telling you to become more playful and to simply allow things to unfold in your life. And that's a really good advice. So don't let your ego get in the way and let life unfold. The next one, number 27, is dragonfly, which is upside down. Dragonfly is the illusion. So here we are. It looks like don't get caught in the illusion, because Otter's saying be more playful, right? So dragonfly medicine is of the dream time and the illusionary facade we accept as the physical reality. The iridescence of dragonfly reminds us of the colors not found in everyday experiences. Dragonflies shifting of color and energy, bringing vague memories of a time or a place where magic reigned. Some legends say that dragonfly was once a dragon, and the dragon had scales like butterflies' wings. Dragon was full of wisdom and flew through the night, bringing light with its fiery breath, baking the villagers for supper. The breath of dragon brought forth the art of magic and the illusion of changing form. And then dragon got caught in its own facade. Coyote tricked dragon into changing form, and the shape of its new body became like dragonflies. Dragonfly is the essence of the winds of change. So, Otter's telling us to be playful. And, there's a message in this. Turkey's the giveaway, the gift. Moose upside down, don't let your ego get in the way. And now here's dragonfly, but upside down. So, upside down, contrary, are you trying to prove yourself or someone else that you have power? What? Are you caught in an illusion that weakens your true feelings or minimizes your own abilities? If so, you may have contracted dragonfly dive bombing. Is this the final crash and burn for some pipe dream that you might have? Look within and feel the sense of self energy within yourself. That's kind of going back to Moose, not getting your ego involved, and making sure you got that straightened out. Misery is a prime clue that you lost your will. Are you having miserable thoughts and you're sitting around being moody all the time? Upside down dragonfly. So misery is that prime clue that brings personal validity when you bought into someone else's idea or your own thoughts that didn't come out right. The illusion was that you would be happier if you did it their way, or that you should have done something that was wrong and you should have done it the right way. Follow dragonfly to the place inside your body where magic is still alive. Joyful and be playful with the otter. Find where your magic is still alive. That makes perfect sense with the cards and just pulled. So and now Hawk is telling you quite simply, to look past and look beyond and be aware of other things around you. And I'm almost there. It's number 2 in the book. Um, Hawk is the messenger. So Hawk is akin to Mercury, the messenger of the gods. Hawk medicine teaches you to be observant. Okay. Dragonfly is like go inside and fix what might be in there. Moose is warning you about your ego. Otter saying be playful and bring it out. And Dragonfly is saying doing the same. So now Hawk is the messenger. Life is the initiation. If you pulled the Hawk card, then right now a clue about the magic. There, look, Dragonfly says looks inside for the magic. Then right now a clue about the magic of life is being brought to you. Pay attention. So this magic can imbue you with the power to overcome a currently stressful or difficult situation. The test is your ability to observe the nuances of power lurking nearby, like the power of otter and playfulness, or maybe the power of moose, and to be careful, the power of turkey with the giveaway. What is called for here is an intuitive ability to discern the message carried within the cry of a hawk. Ancients recognized this magnificent bird as a messenger bringing tidings to their earth walk. So, what are we all doing? We're all are on the earth walk. So, messages coming in. Hawk medicine is a totem that is filled with responsibility because hawk people see the overall view. Now, that's one of the things that we need to do in this day and time. There's a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of people expecting things to change hour by hour and day by day. And sometimes you need to just take a broader observation of what's going on. Hawk people see the overall view. Hawk is not like mouse, which consequently is the next card up. Hawk is not like mouse, who sees everything through a magnifying glass. If Hawk is circled and landed in your card, you are to be aware of signals in your life. Pay attention to things around us. So notice and receive them. Accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings of the universe. Hawk has a keen eye and a bold heart, for Hawk flies close to the light of grandfather's sun. Now, can't believe that it says right here about, Hawk is not like mouse, because mouse looks at things, very, very close up. Mouse is scrutiny. So now the things that Hawk is asking you to be observing, mouse right behind it is saying, well, you observe it, but you should scrutinize what you see. Mouse says, I will touch everything with my whiskers in order that I may know it. Paradoxically, this is both a great power and a great weakness. Mouse has so many predatory animals, including birds, snakes, and cats. Since mouse is food for so many, it has a highly developed sense of danger. Mouse people anger many other medicine types because they appear to be nitpickers. Mouse people will spot the lint on your coat. Chiefs tell us that without mouse, there would be no systemization of knowledge. Okay? So mouse is sort of like a librarian in a way with knowledge. Mouse knew from the very beginning that there is always more to learn. One can always delve deeper and deeper and deeper. So Hawk's telling us to look out and observe, and Mouse is saying, scrutinize and maybe you should look a little deeper. If Mouse is in your cards, the medicine is telling you to scrutinize. Look at yourself and look at others carefully. Maybe that big hump of cheese is sitting on a trigger that will spring a deadly trap. The message is to see what is right before your eyes and to take action accordingly. So that's not a bad sign. Now we got rabbit upside down, and rabbit upside down is fear. And so the story goes that a long time ago, the rabbit was befriended by Eyewalker, who was a witch. And Rabbit asked for some food, and boom, touched a rock, and it was a biscuit. A little further on, Rabbit was thirsty, and boom, here's something to drink. Well, after a while, when they left and went to their separate homes, um, Eyewalker was like wondered where her friend Rabbit was, and Rabbit was nowhere around. And finally, one day they, kind of bumped into each other walking, and Eyewalkers were like, "Rabbit, what's wrong? Well, how come you won't be around me?" And Rabbit said, "Well, because what you did scared me. I'm afraid of you." And Eyewalker said, "Well, if you're afraid of me, I'm going to curse you and all of your relatives from here on. And they too will be scared and afraid." And so he uses magical powers to make Rabbit just terrified. He says, "Once we were great friends, but no more. It is within my power to destroy you. But because of our past and our friendship and the medicines we have shared together, I will not do this. But from this day forward, I lay a curse on you and your tribe. From now on, you will call your fears, and your fears will come to you." So now here we are. Here's Rabbit at the end of this card stream. Now it's upside down, but the rabbit calls fear to itself. It's out in the field and it goes, "Eagle, where are you? Come eat me." And finally, Eagle will come and eat it if it ain't careful. So the contrary is the paralyzed feeling that Rabbit experiences when being stalked. Is Rabbit in the contrary position, being frozen? So all of these cards going through here, a mouse is telling us to scrutinize, and Rabbit is saying, right here at the end, that this could indicate a time to wait for the forces of the universe to start moving again. So the cards just said, you know, with
Mhm. You're muted. You you gotta unmute yourself. Uh-oh.
I don't know
There you
how
go.
that happened. So where did you hear me last about rabbit?
I don't know. I don't remember. I was
Okay,
wondering where you.
okay, upside down rabbit is a paralyzed feeling. You know, if you've ever seen a rabbit in it, it's sort of like deer in the headlights, okay? It could also indicate a time to wait for the universe to start moving again. And so these cards here, you know, mouse is like be cautious, hawk saying observe, you know, dragonfly is the same. Um, you know, otter is, you know, be playful and don't let your ego get in the way with the moose, and make sure that hummingbird with joy, and the gift of the giveaway, because turkey said there's a gift coming. So, but with rabbit upside down, it will always indicate a time when you need to reevaluate the process you are undergoing in life. Simply put, you cannot have your influence felt until you rearrange your way of seeing your present set of circumstances. So sometimes you just need to let things go by and wait a day or two or three or something, and things might work out if they're not going your way. So those are the 8 cards tonight. So I hope you got something out of that. And man, this computer's just been there. It goes again. Oh, well, we scared him. I
I
thought
think
that
you
was
gotta
me.
reboot. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and my screen just went
Oh no.
full screen. Okay, it's okay. I'm still here, and we're towards the end of the show. So God bless y'all for hanging out with us tonight, and I hope it meant something. They
That's
were
right.
good cards.
They
There's a
were.
gift coming, you know.
Yep.
But you also have to know that you are a gift, and that the simple things that you can do that we've talked about, open a door for somebody or just smiling or hey, have a nice day, you know, um, can be that thing. And so those simple things can let other people know that we are still a tribe of people, a tribe of humanity. So
Yep.
I hope that was good, y'all.
Yeah. I
That's the
think
best I could do for tonight.
that's right. That's all right. Computer problems make things different. Yep. But it's always good. Thank you for everybody sticking around. And stuff. Thank you, Desert Rose. Haven't seen you in a while. She's good night, Robert and David. Put chat. Take care of y'all. Susie Q says, nice Hawkeye. Well, thank you, thank you. Susie Q, there you go. Thank you all for sticking around tonight, and hope you enjoyed the stories. A good story time telling night, wasn't it? I like it. And well, don't worry, we will be back soon. It seems like a week's just fly by. Spring is almost here. It's getting cold outside. It was 50 some degrees today, at least 50 today. And spring is on its way. I can just feel it. And but as that goes, it's going to get cold tonight and cold tomorrow, and they're talking a little snow tonight. But then next week it's going to hit 80.
And see, down here it almost hit 90. It was like 88 degrees today. It's the
Wow.
hottest day so far.
Wow.
And we are towards the end of April, which things will heat up down here in the South. So, you got snow coming in the cold front, and we're in the middle of a heat wave. We're in the middle of a heat wave.
Yep.
So
That's
I'll
true.
wave in the heat.
That's right. Spring is on its way. That's just the thing. Hopefully summer, Lucky says, don't like the spring weather, just wait. That's right. If you don't like this. But spring is up and down. It's going to be cold tomorrow and then hot again. So I'm not worried. Spring is on. I got to wait. Plant the garden. I'm getting all excited. I bought some plant and potato stuff and onions and got the seeds out. And I got to disc the garden and clean it up a little bit. And yeah, life is going to be good. Going to have a nice garden this year for sure.
Good.
All right. Yeah, Witchy Moon says, thank you all. Thank you for coming tonight, everybody. And with that, remember, I'll be back on Saturday night with another great show. And then we'll see y'all on Sunday on Beyond Truth with me and Nina. So I'll be all over the place. Just come on over and join us. There's Susie Q. Love you all bunches. And Elderberry says, plant your spring seedlings on grass, clover, etc. Yes. Thank you all. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. And with that, remember, do the nice thing. Go out and spread a smile. Take those cards to, with rabbit and a mouse and all those good things, and heed the words. With that, remember to be the frequency you want to receive, everyone. Love you all. Peace, everybody.
Cheers.